Hey folks, welcome back to Dan's Auto Diagnostics and Repair. Today we got the 2014 Chrysler Town & Country. I believe we've done some rear wheel bearings on this one before. Today it's in because of a noise in the front left. The customer says that he thinks the brake pad is falling out of it. So if that's the case, it's probably rubbing on that piston. So let's go take a look. Alright, looks like the outer brake pad is on, so if he is missing that inner pad, it's definitely rubbing on the piston. Alright, we got the wheel off. You can see the pad here, and it does look like we got an inner pad, and actually the pads don't look all that bad. So we're gonna have to see what's going on there. We'll have to check the other side and go take it for a test run. He said it was really bad and it barely made it here. Felt like the wheel was about to fall off. So, more investigation to do. Alright, it wasn't a brake as he said, and the pad didn't fall off. What it is a wheel bearing. Look how much that moves. Yeah, that's a wheel bearing. I put the wheel back on just so you can see that movement a lot better. Look at that. Yeah, that wheel bearing is toast. We got this side up now, and that's nice and tight. That's how it's supposed to be, no movement. So that one's good. I guess we really didn't need to put the wheel back on, huh? Jeez. Alright, I got all the stuff out of the way, and now we can see the carnage. Wow. That's why it felt like his wheel was about to fall off. Now, I didn't do any filming this far to take off the caliper bracket, rotor and stuff, because you guys seen me do it 1,000 times. So we're going to start right at taking the wheel axle nut off, and we'll go from there. This is a 32 millimeter. Just gonna push that axle back out of there. Got threaded the nut on so that I'm not ruining any threads. Trying not to. This thing is destroyed. Hopefully the axle's not destroyed. That is not coming out easy. I'm putting a little pressure back here. I'm pulling on the axle while I'm hitting this in. Might need a bigger hammer. Let's try this one. Wow. Holy crap. Oh boy. That is not good. I might need a new axle as well after this. It did look like there's a little carnage on it back there. Oh man. I'm gonna try holding it in with a screwdriver in the back. So it's got some pulling pressure. Probably should just get out the air hammer. Maybe that'll work. Oh man. The air hammer's probably not going to work. Wow. I'm pretty certain I'm going to need an axle after this. I'm going to try the air hammer, but I'm very doubtful. Not a bit. I'm going to take this tie rod off and take the bottom the main bearing under there. Can't even talk. Alright, there's that. Straighten that out a little bit. Don't worry about that guy. Same deal with that. Put that nut back on so I'm not ruining the threads. Give her a little massage. She looks trusty. There she is. There. Now we got to get this lower ball joint bolt off, that nut, and get that off of there. That'll be fun. It's ridiculous in there. Before I take that bottom, the lower ball joint off, see if we can't make any more progress with this wheel bearing. Yeah, there's my screwdriver. There it is. I'm just going to do a little prying action on that. Man, that is in there. Oh boy. When all else fails, get a bigger hammer and a bigger pry bar, right? Oh man, I just can't believe it. I don't really see what could possibly be holding that in there so good. Ugh. Oh, never in my life I've ever had one hold in there that good. Well, I'm going to give this operation a shot. I think I might be tearing this thing up. That's not good. Wow, that is unbelievable. I think I might have bent them just a little. Going with the heat and beat method. That is amazing. I heat it. I beat it. I had to cut the nut off. Had to whip out the big torch. Yeah, I don't get what could be holding that so well. I mean, it's just splines. O'Reilly's just dropped by the new one. So that's the end that goes in there. It's just splines. And they're in there. They must have got heat welded together and just kind of melted together or something, because that's in there good. There's the nut I cut off. Still hot. Yeah, buddy. That's in there. Now I'm going to try this method again, but with heat. So I got pressure on this. Now I'm going to heat it. Absolutely insane. That is just unbelievable. I'm just sitting here looking at the new parts, thinking how in the world can it be on there so good? Because this is just, that's it. It's on there. That's it. How can that be on there so good? Crazy. I think what I'm going to have to do, I'm going to try to have to get that lower ball joint nut loose. Hopefully I got enough room in between the CV axle there. And just take these two bolts out. That's still hot. Turn that. Take these nuts out here, and I believe these are splined in, but I'll just knock the bolt out, and then take that whole steering knuckle to the press and try to press that out. I don't know if I mentioned it yesterday, but obviously I've destroyed the boot trying to get that off of there, and then this just, that I couldn't get that nut off. It just kept turning and turning and turning, so I took the welder and I just welded it in there so that this don't turn, and then I got the nut off. So we have to replace the lower ball joint too. Yep, tried that too. Time to throw in the towel. Time for a new steering knuckle. Probably should have made that call a long time ago. This is just one of those jobs where you spend hours and hours and hours just trying to accomplish something, and you've been backing up the whole time. And I can't charge the customer for it. I mean, I can't charge them $500 worth of labor just trying to get that off when I could have bought a whole new steering knuckle and he'd pay less. So that's where we're at now. Got to order the steering knuckle and get this thing done. Alright, now we got to get this lower ball joint out. The new parts are coming tomorrow. I'll have the steering knuckle, lower ball joint, already got the CV axle and the wheel bearing. So my other ball joint compressor tool bent on me, so I got me a new one. First thing I got to do is get this clip out of here. That doesn't seem to be it. I'm gonna find it first. There it is. I get that off there first. Now we got to press it out. All right, ran into a little issue. So you can see this cup is supposed to allow the bearing to cut, or the lower ball joint to come through, and you press it. Take your press like this, but obviously this is too long, so I'm just going to lop this right off. There we go. Now, I have the room to press it out. There you go. There's that. We're ready for the new one. There's my old one. Probably could have done it with that, but it's a little bent. Oh, we finally got our parts in. We got our lower ball joint, brand new steering knuckle. We already had our wheel bearing and our CV axle. Let's get it installed. Alright, we're ready to put the new ball joint in. I'm just going to take a little bearing grease here. Just put it on the inside there just to help this thing along. Alright. Now we got our lower ball joint here. I'm going to make sure that's going in nice and straight. We got a little cup here I'm going to put on the bottom to push it. This is going to allow it to go up inside here. Put that there. And put this guy on. I have no room to put my impact in there, so I'm going to try my angle one, and then if not, we'll just go manual with the ratchet. Alright, looks like the angle ratchet's going to work. Angle impact. We go nice and slow, make sure everything's going in nice and straight. Looks like we might have a little crooked operation here. I'm going to turn it to this side. Alright, try it again. It's going in. Alright, now I'm going to back it off and make sure I have the clearance for that stud. I don't want to mess that stud up in here. See that stud? We got this little cap. We got a little leeway in there, so, and we only have that much further to go. You can see it's Not exactly straight, but it's going in. It'll be flush when I'm done, but there you go. So I'm gonna go ahead and sink her in. All right, we're ready. This thing don't have the power I'd like it to have. There you go. Now we're flush. We're all the way down in there, nice and flush. And we had plenty of room for our studs, so we didn't mess up our threads or anything. So that's in. Now we got to put on our retainer, our snap ring here. We got that. We got our little oil, our grease fitting, cotter pin, and a snap ring. All right, we got our snap ring pliers. Gonna put those on there. There you go. That's installed. Now we'll put on our grease fitting. There's our little grease fitting, our little Zerk. And that just goes in that hole right there, just screws right in. There you go, installed. You want to use He-Man strength to get that in there, just snug it up. Now we're ready for the steering knuckle. We're just going to put that on the lower ball joint there. And then put on our castle nut. Now we still got to tighten that down, but a lot of times, if you look at the top of that, a lot of times there'll be a little Allen, a place for an Allen wrench to put on so that this doesn't turn inside the joint. This doesn't have it, so hopefully that's not going to turn on us. So far so good. Now we'll torque that to spec. The spec is 20 foot-pounds and then an additional 180 degrees. All right, now we're going to go an additional 180 degrees. Now, if you don't have an angle meter, what you can do is get you a little Sharpie or something like that, mark it, and then you know 180 degrees is right here on the other side. So once that mark gets to the other side, you're torqued to spec. And that's it. And look, we lined up perfectly with the cotter pin too. So we'll put our cotter pin right in there, which is a little long, but we'll just get the needle nose after it and get that in there right. All right, spread it apart on each side. Just bang it in there. Let it spread on its own. There you go. Just take your pliers, bend them in. There's finished product for y'all. Now I'm going to grease it up. Time for the wheel bearing. Make sure you clock everything right. Make sure that The wheel speed sensor is where it's supposed to go. Boom, just like that. Get our bolts in. Now I'm going to put the little wheel speed sensor wire bracket on here. Alright, torque the spec. And those little bushings go right in here. Come on, baby, get in there. And then the other one up here. Roll them in. There we go. Now I'm going to install a little dust cover. Dust shield for the brake rotor. Now it's time for the CV axle. You want to make sure that clicks in nice. There you go. That's what you want to hear. Give her a little tug. Make sure she's in there good. You're good to go. Now, we'll insert the CV axle into the steering knuckle. Line it up with the strut. There you go. Now we're going to put the bolts in our strut here. All right. Get our nuts on. We got little splines in the back, so pound them in to lock them splines in. Then your bolt won't turn. Then you torque them to spec. These bolts are 65 foot-pounds and an additional 90 degrees. Now 90 degrees. Got my little mark right here. When that faces up, it's good. All right, that's torque to spec. Same way in the bottom. All right, those are torque to spec. Now, we're gonna put our wheel nut on and torque it to spec. I don't remember showing you guys torquing the hub bearing to spec. So that's 37 foot-pounds. Just so you know that's done. The axle nut is 118 foot-pounds. Good to go. All right, I put on the new wheel speed sensor wire bracket there. They gave us a new one. They didn't give us a new one of those though, but it's on. Now I'm going to put the tie rod back on. Torque that to spec. Tie rod nut is 55 foot-pounds. All right, went underneath and connected up the wheel speed sensor. It's got those two little push tabs in it. Of course, there's a little red safety lock on that. You got to pull it apart. If you pulled it apart, then you just put it back together. All right, now we're going to compress the dual piston here. I finally got my dual piston compressor. Makes it a lot easier for these dual pistons. All right, those are bottomed out now. Now we're just going to go ahead and lube up the piston face surface with some brake grease. And then back here. Last one. Lubed up here, 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 and the piston faces. Now let's go clean the caliper bracket and get this rotor on. Alright, I cleaned up the inside mating surfaces of the rotor, hit it with some fluid film. Now we're going to put it on the vehicle. Alright, I got my caliper bracket bolts on. They're torqued to spec, 150 foot-pounds. Alright, these are not new brakes. They're in great condition, but it's not a new brake job, but I cleaned everything up best I could, lubed all the ears on it and everything, and lubed the guide pins. Time to put on the caliper. These caliper guide pin bolts get torqued to 26 foot-pounds. Alright, I've cleaned out all the rust on the wheel. Gonna give it a little shot of fluid film. Put her on the van. Fluid's full. Let's go for a rip. Check the oil just in case. You got plenty. Everything's going nice and smooth. No horrible noises, no grinding. She turns well, she brakes well. We call that a fix. All right, we'll get this thing back to the customer. They ought to be happy. They've been without it for a little while, so they're definitely gonna be happy to get it back. That's gonna be it for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We're almost to 1,000 subscribers now, so help me out. Get them subscriptions up to 1,000. We've made our goal of 500. We're close to 1,000 now. You guys are doing great. I appreciate it. All right, thanks again. Appreciate you watching, and I'll see you on the next one.